So I'm Cres. I was a student at U of T between September 2014 and April 2018. I was studying political science, sociology, and music history and culture. QR entered my life through one of my supervisors when I was working at the Multi-Faith Center. Probably one of the events that was most meaningful to me was, I guess it would be the first meeting that I attended. I think it was a meeting where we were deciding what topics would lead the 2016 to 2017 academic year. And I remember just being terrified, as I generally am in these spaces, telling myself no matter what, I won't speak. But I was just surprised how comfortable I was instantly. And I remember actually speaking. There were only 3 or 4 people, so so the pressure was a little higher. But yeah, I was interested in exploring the relationship between sort of queer experiences and science fiction and social justice. At least in my experience with sci-fi and fantasy, there was very limited explicit engagement with queer experiences. It felt very superficial to me, if it even existed. And so I was interested in centering queer experiences in an exhibition space and having queer artists engage with these topics. So we curated an exhibition called Our Future is Queer, a sci-fi and fantasy exhibition under the leadership of one of my Multi-Faith Center supervisors. But we also collaborated with Queering Religion. The term that led the exhibition was visionary fiction, which a Black feminist scholar, Walida Marisha, defined as creating science fiction and fantasy that works towards building a more equitable world. When I saw the exhibition come to fruition, I think first of all, I was just really grateful because especially the day of, like, so many people were there to help me. People from QR, interns from Multi-Faith Center, even my sister came through. There were a lot of things that I felt. The first thing that comes to mind is it was quite bright, colorful. There were 13 multidisciplinary artists at the exhibition: poets, painters, filmmakers, comic book artists. A lot of the artwork seemed to be dealing with childhood. And it's interesting because a lot of the artwork was dark. Even though a lot of the pieces visually reflected that childish energy that I read, the topics, trauma and colonialism and capitalism and all that they were not necessarily topics that you would hope that a child would be thinking about. Even though I don't necessarily know how much the artists were informed by a lot of what queer religion engages with, my process definitely was. Throughout my life, what have been some of the things that I've loved, and that has honestly been science fiction and fantasy, thinking about worlds beyond what we can physically see or experience, and that is definitely connected to religion for many. I think one of the main things that I realized through my experience at QR is that my thoughts are not only my own. And just sitting with being in QR, I realized the importance of sharing. Growing up in a country where sort of queer expression or anything that was related to queerness was so heavily policed and criminalized, that deeply informed my reasoning of thinking that isolation would be the only solution. Continuing to understand what it means for me to be queer through ideas and people's understandings of queerness has dismantled my belief that isolation is the key to living seeing people being a lot more fearless than I believe that I am when it comes to their engagement with queerness helps me build resistance to isolation.